Hello, amazing artist. It's Kelly Folsom here. And in today's Art Life Conversations podcast, we're going to be discussing daily painting, the benefits and drawbacks of doing daily painting. So, this is a topic that, I know a lot about because I did daily painting for a number of years. So let's dive into the benefits of this. And I'll give you a little timeline here. Before I went to art school, I mostly created art whenever I was in a class. So I would go and sign up for these classes. I was traveling around the country at the time. And so back then, I might finish one piece of art a week, maybe two at most. Then as I started getting clearer on, yes, that I am going to commit to going to art school, and I knew that I needed a portfolio of work in order to do that, I started getting a bit more serious about creating more art. And so I would make a little bit more art, right? And then whenever I got into art school, we had different classes like sculpture class, painting class, drawing class. And those classes, those studio classes were like 6 hours, and we would work on like one project for the whole 6 hours. So in that case, I might be completing two, like a finished drawing and a finished painting in a week. And then usually the sculptures were, much longer projects over, 6 or 8 weeks time. So I'm telling you this so that you have some context for what led me to do daily painting. And then probably in the second year, I started doing more work outside of the classroom. So in the first year, I pretty much did whatever the work was assigned to me in class, working in the actual classroom, and whatever the homework was that was assigned to me. So I pretty much created kind of in that context of people telling me what to do, and me being a good student, for example. And I find that this is a challenge for a lot of artists, especially if they, and a lot of art students, especially if they don't have any situation that they're in that they feel more kind of forced, not that you're actually forced, but you feel more kind of forced in a way to create. So then from my second year on, I started realizing that, oh, I need to be creating a much more than this. And I need to start creating my own independent work and finding my own artistic voice and figuring out kind of what direction I wanted to go in as an artist. When I started doing that, a lot of times those paintings would take me a long time, right? So I already maybe had 20 to 30 hours a week dedicated to art school classes, being in class. And then, another 20 hours on my own, let's say doing my own independent work. Well, each piece might take me, depending on the size, might take me, 10 hours to complete. So I still wasn't getting a lot of extra work completed and underneath my belt. As I grew to the end of art school, I realized that, oh gosh, time is coming near, time is drawing nigh, where I will be out of art school, not supporting myself through student loans, unfortunately. That is what I chose to do so that I could have more time to paint and get better at my craft. And so as that time was drawing nigh, I started realizing that my skill level still wasn't really where, this is probably my third year of school, my skill level really still wasn't where I would, felt like it needed to be in order for me to make it as a full-time artist, make it financially and support myself financially as a full-time artist. And I just really wanted my skill level to get better. And I started to realize that I was spending a lot of time on one piece of art, and then I might get to those in the end, finish those pieces and then kind of see all of the mistakes or the things that I can improve, which is very natural, right? And so that's kind of, in a way, but not quite, how I started doing daily painting. So the first time that I realized that, oh, I'm spending a ton of time and maybe I could actually shorten the amount of time it takes for me to see those lessons and see where those areas of improvement are needed. So in my fourth year of school, I decided to start to size down my paintings. I thought, well, what could I do to speed this up? And I thought, if I painted smaller, excuse me, I could paint quicker. And that was my strategy, was by painting smaller equals quicker, which means more repetitions, which means I can learn from each painting's shortcomings along the way. So the faster I could see those improvements that were needed, the faster I could see those shortcomings, the better, because then I could then reiterate and correct those in the next painting, or work on that issue in the next painting. Does that make sense? I hope so. So that was my strategy, and it really was a strategy born out of necessity, or very self necessity, of wanting to. I was very driven to get to a certain level, basically, so that I could hopefully succeed as a full-time artist immediately upon graduating art school. So that's what I did. And that wasn't necessarily daily painting, but for example, I did, this one time I did like 16 teeny tiny paintings in search of a good composition, that I could take larger. And, some people might word that as like, oh, you're just doing studies. So I was doing studies, again, strategically, to try to get to a better piece of art that would then hopefully get into a competition, get into an exhibition, juried exhibition, something like that, where I might have a chance of selling it or getting an award of some kind. But that showed me, doing that process, I did 16 of those small pieces, and 2 out of those pieces, I really thought, okay, this is a winner of a composition here. And so I took those larger, and those 2 pieces, one got me best of show immediately upon graduating art school. And then the other got me into my very first Oil Painters of America National juried exhibition. And both of those paintings sold. And so I could see the value in that. Now, I was doing that strategically for an end goal of like getting a better quality piece, a larger, better quality piece faster, and hopefully being able to get it into a show. And, and then of course, winning an award would just be like, whoa, So, but it basically showed me the value of doing daily painting, because I could see that if you do daily painting intentionally, and that's the key word I want to bring up here, is if you're doing it intentionally or strategically, it can really have a big payoff in the end. So that's one of the benefits of doing daily painting. And then fast forward, a year later, after I graduated art school, and I was struggling very much financially, but I just did not want to have to go get a part-time job or, something like that to make ends meet. But the stress and the pressure of that was really weighing on me heavily and stressing me out. And every day I was like on the computer trying to read about, how do I sell more paintings? I was in multiple galleries across the country, but I wasn't getting enough sales. So it's just like, no matter what I was doing, I couldn't seem to quite get enough finances in the door through my artwork and through my teaching at the time. And so I was really getting very stressed and anxious, and then I found myself not painting, right? Which is like the worst thing. But a lot of times, whenever we're in fear, scarcity, and anxious, a lot of times it leads to us then doing behaviors, because we're behaviors that are actually going to sabotage us further because we're so emotionally, unstable and emotionally distracted. We're so distracted by the issue at hand. And so I stopped painting every single day, and then I started losing like desire to paint. Anyways, it was really a downward spiral. So some of you know this story. So what I ended up doing was I finally decided that I was going to start painting the sunrise every single morning. And then that way I could do a daily painting. I could do it as soon as I woke up. Back then I didn't quite get up as early as I get up now. um, and it gave me a win, right? It made me feel good. It made me feel great, actually. I felt very accomplished. It boosted my confidence. I followed through on something that I knew was good for me and I knew would support me. And so anyway, so that was kind of the beginning of me starting doing daily painting. And it started out as really just a personal challenge, a personal self-care challenge, to do 30 days of sunrise paintings. And it kind of blew up at the time. People really loved it. They followed it. And then it also turned into sales. I started selling those little sunrises on Facebook, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, now more money is coming in now that I'm actually doing the work and then sharing it. And I was sharing it on Facebook every single day as a way to keep myself accountable to the daily process for those 30 days. And so that was a short personal challenge for myself. And after that, I decided, I really want to keep this daily painting up and, and do still life, whether it's sunrise or still life in the morning. But I really got a huge benefit out of doing the morning daily painting specifically. Now, I would also do my larger pieces throughout the week or throughout the day, pieces that I would then, go on to send to galleries or enter into shows and things like that. But the morning daily painting became a staple in my life, in my routine for a number of years, and it really served me in a huge way. So some of the benefits I think that daily painting has is it gets you out of your head, right? It gets you out of your head. It gets you off of perfectionist thinking, gets you out of any fear, any sort of avoidance, any sort of procrastination. So when you commit to doing daily painting, it just kind of erases all of that, right? Like when you actually really do commit, not like I think every now and then I'll do daily painting, No, like there's a whole movement around daily painting around that time where, there was even websites for it, blogs, people were blogging their daily paintings, sharing it on Facebook. But back then it was mostly blogs. And then there was a couple of websites that people who did daily painting would sell through. And I think all of those still exist out there, but it was kind of more of a popular, trendy movement at the time. And so one of the benefits of doing daily painting is, of course, it gets you to the easel. It gets you creating any kind of daily creating, no matter what kind of art you do. Daily sketch, there's things for daily sketchbook artists, daily sketching, things like that. So it gets you over yourself, basically, so that you can show up and do the work. Okay, so that's a second benefit, is that you're actually getting to the easel and creating, or to the sketchbook or whatever, and creating and producing work consistently. And we know that anything that we do consistently builds momentum, right? It builds momentum over time. Also, again, much like what I learned in art school by doing those miniatures strategically, also you can learn faster, right? So the more times you go from start to finish in your creation process, the more times you complete that whole process, start to finish, and you reiterate and you repeat, well, the more you learn, the faster, right? So this is something that I recommend, even to all the students who come through my Art Life School program, is like, do a bunch of work faster. It doesn't mean you're trying to be sloppy or anything like that, or just churn it out or crank it out. It's just like, get it done, get shit done, get the painting done, get the work done. Instead of like wanting to immediately jump ahead to large, masterpieces that take you weeks to complete, you're just not going to learn fast enough. So you really have to build the fundamentals first, before you can get to that level of mastery. And so I think daily painting is a really fantastic way to build those fundamental skills faster, right? Um, and for me, back then, especially on the business side, it was a great way for me to bring in additional revenue into my business, additional income, because now I had a lot of smaller pieces available that I could then sell more affordably. And I could even sell them unframed, because they were smaller. And so that really helped me as well on the business side. It gave me more variety on my value scale in the business, right? Just like we have value scale in painting, so we have value scale in business. And so it really had a ton of benefits for me. It also gave me the opportunity to either work on a series, like a same type of subject repeatedly, like the sunrise series. If I did that for 30 days, I got so much better understanding of painting sunrises and sunsets because of that. Like I learned so much by just focusing on that one thing for 30 days. Later on, it would be roses, because I really wanted to understand how to paint roses better. And there's nothing like painting the same type of subject every day, let's say for 30 days in a row or longer. That really helps you to deepen your understanding and build your skills in that area. And like I say, it's also the psychological boost. Now, for me, it was critical that I did it immediately before anything else happened in my day, before life got in the way, before emails and phone calls and text messages, or having to go to the grocery store, any of that. It was really critical for me to do it first thing. It gave me such a psychological boost, such an emotional boost, and filled up my energy tank. I felt like I could conquer the world as long as I had done my morning daily painting. Now, I also want to be clear, daily painting does not necessarily have to mean that it's a smaller painting. But for me, it was important that I don't just work on a painting that day, but that I actually go do that start to finish process. And the easiest way for me to do that was to size down and go smaller. So like say something like 8 by 10 inches or smaller for the kind of painting that I do. So you kind of have to figure out like what you want, and what's the process that's going to really process and strategy that's really going to work for you when it comes to daily painting. For me, it was very important that I knew that I finished something. That was kind of the biggest psychological boost for me, is like completion, finishing something. So if I had started something maybe that was larger, that was meant for a show or something like that, that I knew was going to take longer, I knew I couldn't finish it in one day, especially back then. Now I could today, but I think I can do that today because of all of those daily paintings and all of those smaller paintings that I was doing back then. So sometimes what you're doing is you're sowing the seeds that's going to pay off in the future, right? So back then it would maybe take me, 2-3 days to complete a larger piece to the level that I wanted it to be. And today I can do it in one day, for example, right? So it's about like building up. It's about building up that skill set and that consistency over time. So that's why I say all, the huge benefits to doing daily painting. So the drawbacks, and I would say there's really not many, but the drawbacks could be, and again, this depends on your personal goals. The drawbacks could be that, maybe if that's all you do, if that's all you ever do is like a little, mini daily painting, you might not be stretching yourself enough. You might not be challenging yourself enough. And again, this really depends on your personal goals as an artist. Okay, so you just have to look at that. If you are like totally cool with, hey, I completed a quick mini today, like for me, I used to limit it to an hour, so that I knew that I had plenty of time to work on other paintings, other projects, but I could still feel great. Even if that was the only thing I got completed as a work of art that day, I could still feel great about that. But I always had more of a drive to go beyond that, right? So I kind of used it more as a psychological self-care tool as an artist. And then that would give me a boost to where I could then, push myself further and stretch further and grow further and challenge myself more on larger pieces. So the other drawback I think that drawback I think would just be like if somebody gets really self-satisfied and that's enough for them. And again, if it is, that's totally cool. But some people might, and then also some people might spend so much time on their one daily painting that they're out of time, right? They're out of time, and that is all they got in, maybe was like a miniature daily painting. But again, this is such a minimal drawback, and it is also so subjective to each artist and what their personal goals are and their wants and desires are, that I don't even know that I would consider that a drawback, right? Because if you want more, you're going to push yourself to get more. And I just remember like in art school, I had this one art teacher who was making fun of daily painting, and his commentary on it was that he was like, yeah, but if you spend so much time doing your little mini daily painting, how do you have time for anything else? And I thought, well, why would you have to spend a ton of time on it? But he came from like an atelier background where they would spend, 10 hours on a drawing, for example. And so it was just such a different way of creating and such a different mindset that I don't think he could fully grasp, why people would want to do that and also what the benefits of that would be. To each his own. Um, so, and I guess that's another good point is like, I kind of at the time was impressionable as a student. And then I was a little bit embarrassed of like doing my little mini daily paintings in college, but then I was like, I don't care, this is what works for me. I can see that I'm benefiting from it. I can see that I'm growing. I can see that it keeps me out of artistic block and out of artistic ruts. And so if you've never tried it before, I do highly recommend it. And in fact, if you want to try it right now or this week and you're new to me, I do have a 5-day painting challenge that is absolutely free. It's my gift. I have a lot of free courses that I gift to artists because I want to help artists. So, and I know what it's like to be a beginner, and I know what it's like to, be trying to grow and maybe being in your own head too much and kind of being stuck by yourself too much. So I do have that available to you. You can check it out in the description box below, or just go to artlifewithkelly with an I.com and look for the 5-day challenge on the home page. And you can sign up for that absolutely free, and you'll get delivered to you a new lesson every morning for 5 days. So try it out for yourself and see how it makes you feel to complete a project, a small project, every day for 5 days in a row. And then if that is just churning your butter and you're loving the results, then keep going with it, right? And of course, you can sign up for the Art Life School and keep going every single week with me and all the other artists who are in that community. All right, so those are my thoughts on doing daily paintings. I freaking love it. I'm not doing it right now, but I have done it over the last 15 years, multiple times throughout my artistic career at all different levels, you know, sometimes even at a high professional level, it's like those things still work to keep you motivated and engaged and learning and trying new things. That's the other beauty of doing small daily paintings, is it gives you an opportunity to try different subjects, try different ways of, you know, painting or creating that you might not otherwise do. So you can take some risk and fail with so-called fail. I don't think anything's ever a failure, but you can take some risk, and it's not a huge deal if it doesn't work out, right? It's not like you invested 10 hours, maybe you invested 1 hour or 2 hour. So it really does also kind of minimize the risk. So I'll throw that in as the last benefit for small daily painting. All right, my friends, I hope this has been helpful to you. Much love, happy painting, and bye for now.